Well, hello, everyone. My clock says 2 o'clock, so let's go ahead and get started. I wanted to welcome everyone to today's webinar on the National Campaign to Prevent Falls in Construction and getting ready for the 2017 stand down. My name is Trahan, Cain, and I'm the Executive Director at CPWR. I'll be presenting on behalf of CPWR today, but first I'd like to go over a few logistical things with everyone. First of all, we are experiencing some strong intermittent storms here in the DC area today, which hopefully will not be a factor, but should we lose any connection or any of our speakers, please hold tight and we'll try to get back up as quickly as possible. If you're having any trouble hearing through your computer speakers, we recommend calling in using your phone instead. The call-in information can be found in any of the WebEx emails you received or by clicking on the Event Info tab at the top left of your screen. For any other technical difficulties, please contact Jessica Bunting, our webinar hostess. You can message her privately in the chat box or email her at Bunting, that's Jbunting, at cpwr.com. We'll take some time at the end of today's presentation to answer questions. You can enter questions in the Q&A boxes at any time during the presentation, and we will do our best to answer questions in the order they are received at the end of the presentation. Finally, today's webinar will also be recorded, so if you're interested in reviewing or sharing the information with colleagues, we will make that available to everyone after the event. I'm joined today by Dr. Christine Branche, Principal Associate Director at NIOSH and the Director of the Office of Construction Safety and Health there. Also joining me is Dean McKenzie. Dean is the Director of the OSHA Directorate of Construction. Dr. Branche, you're on. So let's get us started.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
I'm going to give a little bit of background about the campaign and how it all got started, and it's my pleasure to join you here today. The Construction Falls Prevention Campaign, which are the rails, if you will, on which the train that is the Construction Safety Stand Down rests and runs, the goal of that Construction Fall Prevention Campaign has been to provide small residential construction contractors and owners with the information, the motivation, and the support that we think they need to help them create the necessary conditions so that their workers can do what they do safely at height. The campaign is a joint effort by government, labor, and management partners occurring through the National Occupational Research Agenda, or NORA, which itself operates under the auspices of NIOSH. We wanted to address the top cause of construction industry fatalities. We wanted the campaign to be based on strong evidence, and we wanted there to be an evaluation component to demonstrate success. Please know that if there had been a campaign that was already in existence that met all of our needs, we simply would have tried to scale that up to the national level. But there wasn't one, so we worked closely together in developing a campaign. Our primary audience for the campaign has been small residential construction contractors, followed by supervisors and foremen for the contractors, and then the tertiary audience is workers for these contractors, including Spanish speakers. We're very pleased that the campaign and the stand down have been of interest to construction projects of the wide variety of sizes. But we want to always make certain that we keep our eyes trained on trying to engage small residential construction contractors. Well, why would we focus on falls? We know that unsafe practices are happening every day in every size of contract and every type of construction project. And we know that because of the data. I'd like to share a little bit with you. For the leading causes of fatalities in construction, and these charts, this and the next following two slides that I will show are based on data from CPWR and the construction chart book, which is available online. But the leading causes of fatalities in construction are falls to a lower level, which is the red line in this graph, The rate of leading causes of non-fatal injuries resulting in days away from work, as you see here, again, in this case, the red line is for struck by an object. The darker blue line is falls to a lower level, and the lighter blue line is for overexertion and lifting. But it's those two, the dark blue and the red lines that talk about falls to a lower level or struck, actually falls to a lower level, the dark blue line is the one for non-fatal injuries that we want to pay attention to. Forgive me there. Again, supporting our effort to focus on falls, you see in this pie chart that 33% of the deaths in construction were based on falls. When we look at where those falls, or from where those falls are occurring, falls from roofs in the red color, ladders in the darker blue color, and scaffolding in the lighter blue color are responsible for 2/3 of the fall fatalities that we see in construction. Turning to, again, to non-fatal injuries, and again, these slides are from the CPWR's chart book. In dark red here, falls on the same level. The darker blue falls from ladders. In the lighter blue, falls from roofs. And in yellow, falls from scaffolds are responsible for the top, most of the non-fatal injuries that we see in the falls arena in construction. And then the last slide of data that I'll show you here is demonstrating fall deaths in construction by size of establishment. The red color is for establishments that have 10 or fewer employees, and these are the data that support our rationale for wanting to focus so closely on small residential construction contractors. Our main messages for the campaign have been plan ahead to get the job done safely, provide the right equipment, and then train everyone to use the equipment safely. So these are our 3 messages to employers. I'm having a little difficulty advancing the slide. Thank you. The campaign launched originally in 2012, and every spring since then, we've relaunched the campaign, getting messages out to all of our stakeholders and encouraging them to embrace this opportunity to focus on falls among their staff. And we've been very pleased with the reception that this has gotten. Both Chris Trahan, Cain, and Dean McKenzie will share information about where the information about the campaign and the stand down are located on their respective websites. But I did want to let you know with this slide that we're working in coordination with each other, and information that you find on the website for one of us, you'll find on that for the rest of us usually. NIOSH has its own campaign webpage, and we encourage you to take a look at the Fatality Assessment and Control Evaluation, or our FACE program reports. They provide a lot of information and detail about the way falls have occurred based on our investigation or those that we've done with the states, to help you better understand not only how these fall injuries and deaths occur, rather how these fall deaths occur, but what can be done to prevent them. Each year we use CDC's morbidity and mortality weekly report in order to announce the stand down. We use this because it allows us to get the message out to a wider audience than just the construction stakeholders. The construction stakeholders are very important and key to what we do, but any effort that we can do to get the information out to a wider audience, we'd like to be able to do so. And so we use the announcement and CDC's MMWR is a very important publication that gets quite a bit of national attention. Videos that depict information, not only testimonies from construction contractors and what they've done to prevent falls among their workers, are available on NIOSH's website at the address that appears on this slide. And we will do a press release this year as we've done in other years for the campaign. So thank you very much for your time. Dean?
Good afternoon, everyone. Delighted to have you here with us today. Let's see. There we go. The campaign has been a wonderful effort, and when we started the stand-down portion of the campaign in 2014, we had a goal of maybe reaching 500,000 employees and workers. We were blown away by the success of the campaign and how many people engaged. The first year we touched 1 million, and for the 3 little partners to put together, you know, something like that and get it out, we stole the idea from a stand down really from one of our regions that had done a small stand down and reached 50,000 people. We thought we should be able to do 10 times that. And we ended up doing 20 times, and the campaign is in many ways taken on a life of its own. So this year, May 8th through the 12th, will be the stand down week. We will open our certificate page for people that wish to pull a certificate a week ahead, and we'll keep it open through June. So you don't, if your schedule does not let you stand down that week, that's okay. We will be delighted to record your participation at any time. We've had stand downs in all 50 states and across the country, small businesses, big corporations. We even had one small town that the entire town did a stand down. They thought it was such a great idea, and you know, that's pretty impactful to have an entire small community decide that this was a big deal for their town. Our partners are the key to the success of the stand down. The associations, the trade groups, the manufacturers, everybody that gets engaged to participate in the stand down and the outreach. You know, we have the certificate page that people can get a certificate of participation, and there's some free form fields in that you can tell us about your event. One of my favorite stories was a fellow the first year that wrote he wasn't going to do the stand down, but wasn't going to bother with that all of the subcontractors and other partners he was building with were going to do it, and so they did, and it turned out to be a great event, and his crew loved it, and he committed to doing it, henceforth. So that was very impactful to me. We have seen stand downs with less than 25 employees continue to be a significant portion of the participation. We have the Air Force has gotten engaged in a very large way, and have become the largest single entity participating in the stand down, but they go worldwide with it and have dedicated a month to it. I mentioned the certificates. There's a picture of the certificate. We ask people to fill out a certificate. It'll be signed this year by me. We will use the information you give us to print the certificate just to count how many people participate. It's how we can do some kind of reporting on the success and reach of it. And we encourage everyone and any association to report their activities any way they can. It just tells us we are getting out into the right areas and the right industry folks and trying to reach everyone we can. Falls continue to be such an important problem throughout all industries, but particularly in construction. We, from the very first year, thought it would be fascinating to understand what people did at their stand downs. This chart identifies some of the things that we found people did. The first year we thought we would find out how many people did burritos, how many people did pizza, and all that. That didn't quite come to pass, but people did share this with us. This is some of the information that we have available on the stand down webpage, and I know it's on CPWR's webpage as well. Some of the data analysis that has been done And this is what we use that information in the certificate page for, is to identify who is getting involved, how many. We had to add categories for non-construction types, government types, and we're happy to keep adding categories as more people get involved and work on stand down or fall prevention with us. So how do you hold a stand down? It's very easy. You do something that works for your company in your situation. If it's a toolbox talk at the tailgate, that's excellent. If it's an afternoon inspecting every piece of equipment that you have, you know, that works. There are companies that do every manner of stand down you can imagine, and that's the key. It's getting the word to the employees and workers to understand how important the employers and the boss feels it is to protect them from falls. We had in the Philadelphia area, employers went through, inspected every piece of equipment in one small association up there, and they replaced a tremendous amount of equipment. With a close inspection, they found problems with a huge amount of equipment. So there's any number of ways. We don't try to tell you what to do, we only ask that you do. We have a stand-down resources webpage on OSHA's website. This is our regional map. By clicking on any region, you can find the stand-down coordinators and regional events that may be available in your area. This is a listing of the stand-down coordinators around the country by region. They can support you if you are having a stand-down and would like OSHA to participate and perhaps speak at your event. You know, we are delighted to do so. And here's a list of folks that you can reach out to. Falls can be prevented. These do not have to happen. We don't have to live with this and continue losing our coworkers, the injuries and pain involved with it. We can do something, and it's going to take all of us to continue getting that message out. We have immediate resources available right now on our webpage. If you call or email to OSHA, and there's information on the webpage, we will ship you publications and posters as you need them, the hard hat stickers and other information that we have available. You know, so please feel free to reach out, and we'll get things moving, get it to you in time for the stand down. There's a fact sheet. This was an original fall prevention campaign fact sheet. Additional resources that we have available. And after the stand down, again, I ask, please go get a certificate of participation. It helps us understand where all employers are getting engaged. We have changed it this year to have regular participants up through gold level participants for the people that have participated in all 4 years. So please come get the certificate that you have earned and tell us where you did it and let us count you. And with that, I'll move it on to Chris.
All right, if I take my phone off mute, that would help. Thanks, Dean. That was great. I wanted to share a little bit of information about CPWR resources for the campaign and stand down, but first I did want to mention, I mentioned it briefly at the beginning, we will send out a link to the recording of this webinar after to everybody both on the line and who couldn't make it, who had registered, and we'll send out a PDF of the slides. So, for example, if you want to go contact your OSHA regional liaison for the stand down, you'll have the list in your possession. And with that, I wanted to talk about a website that CPWR maintains on behalf of the campaign. We call it the Official Falls Campaign website, and we put information on this website from all 3 of our organizations and beyond. So what we are as a non-federal partner in this campaign is a way to get even more information than I think could possibly be posted quickly on the federal website. So we have a lot of resources there, from toolbox talks, videos, equipment inspection checklists, campaign flyers, our return on investment calculations. We have materials on ladders, scaffolds, roofs, and all kinds of things on falls in general. One thing, if you looked at the banner that was on display on our website, we now have online hard hat sticker ordering. So this is a copy of the order form that we have since the stand downs were initiated about a year after the campaign started, offered free hard hat stickers for participation. This year I doubled the number that we bought from last year, so I'm hoping that people do order them and we send them to you for free. We'd really like you to request hard hat stickers. There's a limit of that you can order online, but there's not necessarily a limit to the number that we will ship out at no cost. As well as the hard hat stickers, which is depicted in the middle of this screen, we have other materials on the online ordering form that you can use as handouts for your stand-down activities. Plus, we have more. We have a lot of information and materials that are available for free from CPWR to the construction industry on fall hazards and a lot of other hazards that construction workers are exposed to, and we'd love it if people would request more information and materials from us that we can mail out, again, for free. On our website, we are adding material to gear up for the 2017 stand-down. We have a one-page flyer coming, which is the basics about the stand-down and why you should participate. An image of it is here, where we work with OSHA to analyze the data from their certificate program. So we generate reports about that with a lot more details about what people have reported in the past that they've done that during their stand-downs and what people find particularly valuable. We do something called a 5-day plan as well. So if you think about the 5 working days of the stand-down week and people want ideas for activities they can do during the stand-down, we put together, at the request of contractors, when we started doing this, they suggested that we put out some ideas and a plan. You can follow the plan or you can just get ideas from it, modify it to fit your work site and what your employees are doing. We're putting together a promotional video for the stand-down that should be posted in the next month or so. And we're adding a new feature, and that's a success story submission form. Since the campaign began, we've really looked for different examples of great things that folks have done as it relates to the campaign and the stand-down. And we have a lot of those success stories reports up on our website, stopconstructionfalls.com. Some of them are short little blog entries. Other ones are longer reports that really go into detail about different activities that different groups, employers, and associations have done as it relates to stand-down activities. So there's lots of ideas that we have we'd like you to share with you through stopconstructionfalls.com. One of the new things we're adding this year is something that was successful last year, is developing a series of infographics that we co-brand with NIOSH for the Falls campaign. And these are meant to be taken and used, not just sit somewhere. So a lot of folks like to share infographics through social media to create more excitement about the upcoming event. So we hear that it's useful in those regards, and that they convey really interesting or important information about how falls occur and where they occur from and that type of thing. Another project that we have that we started in 2011 as it relates to the campaign is a fatality tracking map. We have staff people here at CPWR who look for information on construction fatalities and try to capture those in real time and post information about those from sources like newspapers and OSHA fatality investigations on this map. We find that it's important to kind of carry this information that construction fatalities and falls fatalities occur everywhere in every community. And if our training population that we work with seems to think that this is a really good way to drive home some of the issues and some of the importance of construction safety and health and falls, as well, because we track all construction fatalities we can on these maps, but we also have separate maps just for fall fatalities. And these we update every quarter. So we try to get information on what's going on in the fatality arena nationally a lot sooner than federal government can do. Obviously, we're not capturing the information to the degree and as well as the federal government does, but we're getting information sooner and just quicker out for folks to use if they want to. One thing that we're really interested in and excited about is last year we were approached by a company named Harness who wanted to develop an app that was for the stand down. And we truthfully didn't have the funding to develop an app, but they wanted to do it for free. And it's out there. They developed it in 2016 and are refining it now for the 2017 stand down. It's free to use. It is available both for iPhone and Android. The information is easy to access on the job site right through the app. Most of it, all of it, is populated from our Stop Construction Falls website, but in the form of a handheld device. It might be a little bit easier to use on the job. Users can sign up for push notifications if they want reminders about participation in the stand down or ideas where they tie the push notifications into the 5-day plan that I mentioned before. And the app also provides a mechanism to collect data. So if a contractor or a user of the app wants to provide information about their company and have it released, we will get it, but we don't see all the information. So we get information that just aggregately shows what kind of people downloaded this app, how big are their companies, and then we get aggregate information on information they share about what they do during the stand down. They can log their activities and share with photos, opinions, recommendations, and provide feedback through the app. So that it's a nice way to partner with another organization, and there's no cost to folks using it, and we hope that we can, again, try to track what happens with the stand down over time and what happens with what types of activities people really feel are the most important and the most useful. And with that, that's the conclusion of our prepared comments. So right now we're going to open it up for questions. The folks on the phone have the ability, as we said in the beginning, or folks on the webinar can type in questions at any time, and we're going to go through the questions and have whichever panelist is appropriate answer them. If panelists received direct questions through their chat, please chime in and let us know what they are, and we'll take time to answer them now. But with that, I was hoping that, Jessica, if you could go through the questions that were received, and then the panelist who's most appropriate will go ahead and answer.
Sure. The first question, I believe, was in reference to some of the data that Dr. Branche was sharing, and is there any data more current than 2010?
Excellent question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great, because I had been on mute all that time. Actually, we're looking forward to a data update in the next few weeks by CPWR through their online chart book information. But I would tell you that the trend information that we have for many years before the data that I showed you, the focus on small construction companies has been an appropriate one. And the data that we have from OSHA through the BLS reports confirms that the small construction operators are the ones that we really do need to pay more attention to based on their the fall data, the places where the fatalities and non-fatal injuries are occurring, but also for other incidents in construction that make for deaths and non-fatal injuries. So there's quite a bit of information, not just from the slides that I showed you, that confirm that the small operator is the one where we we should put quite a bit of our efforts.
And I wanted to add to that, we do have the chart book under development now for the 6th edition. The data came from the 5th edition. But in the interim, we have put out a quarterly report on this issue. This is Chris from CPWR. It's accessible through CPWR's website. It was the 3rd quarterly report published in October 2015 that tracked fatal and non-fatal injuries among construction trades between 2003 and 2014. So with that, I'll send the link to Jessica so she can include it in the communications she sends out after this webinar.
And I would also add, this is Christine Branche, one of the reasons why I wanted to provide the information from the chart book, even though it would appear that the data are slightly dated, is because, and I should have said this, the information is perfectly downloadable, it's free, and the information from those charts can be downloaded very easily into PowerPoint slides. In fact, they're available as slides.
Great, thank you. The next question is, why do we think small companies have more incidents? Lower safety climate?
I don't want to say a lower, and I do encourage my fellow presenters to weigh in on this as well. I wouldn't say a lower safety climate. I think it's easy. I don't think that that smaller employers of smaller operations are doing anything deliberately. I do think that the information that we have would suggest that they think that they can't afford a safety and health officer or a person who would be committed to making certain of that, of the safety of the employees on their sites. But there's several things I want to say. Chris or Dean, you can certainly pipe in here as you wish as I collect my thoughts in answering this question thoughtfully.
The person who asked the question just entered a follow-up that says, could it be because they have less resources such as funding and training to focus on safety versus larger companies?
I think, this is Chris, I think that's a perfectly reasonable assumption, and really that's part of what drives us at CPWR, and I'm certain OSHA and NIOSH, to provide information, tools, and resources so that smaller companies can get them and use them with little effort. I hope that they do. Sometimes it's hard to reach them. So, Dean, I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
Well, you know, one thing that comes to my mind, and I've been there, I've been that small contractor. You're so busy working on just selling the job, executing the job, collecting the job, you know, and trying to run a company and put food on your table, that some of these things, like proper fall protection and even knowledge of all of the hazards and abatement and regulations and all, don't enter your mind. Nobody gets up in the morning saying that they're not going to care about their employees or, you know, want to endanger them. But there's a certain bravado that you often find in construction workers, and this is not a knock on them. This is, you know, why they're the hardworking guys they are, and, you know, why they do what they do. But the littlest employers have many things going on to worry about and get done besides putting the proper attention to safety and hazard mitigation.
And this is Christine, and what I would add is that I think Dean and Chris both have provided excellent answers to your very good question. But what we are always trying to help employers, regardless of their size, what we're always trying to help them understand is that the return on the investment in paying attention to the safety of one's employees is critical. That, yes, you don't plan to have a death, you don't plan to have a non-fatal injury, but by failing to pay attention to these relatively simple and comparatively cheaper prevention activities, you are not just saving a life or preventing a life-threatening or other injury, but you're also just saving money and you're saving resources by focusing on safety. And so as Chris was alluding to, those of us at the federal level are trying to push out information so that the employer, the contractor, the subcontractor, regardless of their size, has information that's easily downloadable, free, easy to access, so that they can pay attention to this issue.
Okay, thank you all. This next question is directed toward Dean. Is outreach coordinated with state plan OSHA programs as well as the regional national offices?
Absolutely. Yeah, we work very closely with all the state plans, and this is an area where the states have been very excited and engaged in the fall stand down.
Okay. Next question, is there a way to find out the total participation of specific government agencies?
We can identify the ones that have pulled certificates. If they did not pull a certificate or tell us about it, for example, last year the VA did a all-hands nationwide fall prevention training webinar. We have, we do not know how many people participated, what the reach of that event was.
Okay. This next one is for us at CPWR, and it is, when will the CPWR's 5-day plan materials be made available? That's on me. Hopefully in the next few weeks I will pull something together. We're working on a lot of updates that Chris already mentioned in her presentation to stop construction falls. So I have been doing things like the flyer and a few other updates that should be reflected soon. So this is also on my list of things to get up there. We're trying to make sure we update all of the resources with plenty of time before the 2017 stand down.
Yes, Jessica isn't just the person who helps us with our webinar. She's also leading our efforts these days on the campaign and the stand down. So thank you, Jessica.
Okay, thanks. Okay, the next question is, it looked like there were more fall deaths on the East Coast. Is there any correlation or truth to this?
And I'll take that question. I assume it's from the image. This is Chris from CPWR. I assume the question is because of the image I put up on the fatality map, and I do not have a good answer for you, but I would assume that the fatality map perhaps reflects population density. Yes. So I will actually write down that question and think about if we have ever broken down the data by region and by state.
And I would caution you, this is Christine, that that's where you need to look at rate versus just the straight out number of deaths. And that's where you, by taking into account rate, then you should, and thinking about that graphically is where some of the information that looks like there's a regional bias might even out if you look at the rate, not just the number.
And BLS does break it down by state.
Okay, let's see, this next one will be for Dean. We will have around 500 employees attend stand-downs via toolbox talks and branch discussions. Can we request certificates by submitting a list of employees that participate? So certificates for all 500 employees. If so, what is the process?
Please reach out to me offline and we'll talk about that. You can reach me at mckenzie.dean@dol.gov.
But the certificate is for the employer, not for the employee, right?
Typically, yes.
Okay. All right. The next question is, how many employers use a paid safety consultant versus a company employee?
Wow, good question.
That's an extremely variable question. It depends. If everyone is on one site, it would be reasonable to presume that one safety guy could cover it. If you have 20 different sites, one guy probably will not be as effective.
I didn't have anything to add to that. This is Chris from CPWR. But I did notice the question above it, which is a really great question. The question reads, fall protection is complicated. Knowing national fatality figures is a lot less important than knowing how to calculate fall distance, how to recognize adequate anchorage, where to tie off. Small contractors need help in understanding how, not why. And I agree with you very much. I think this is a really important topic, because what we do typically when we try to get people to pay attention to the issue is throw the severity of the issue at them with numbers, and unfortunately with falls we have a lot of severity on this issue, and once we get folks' attention is when we try to get them the information that addresses some of the things that you identified, Dan. Things about how to recognize adequate anchorage, where to tie off, how to inspect your harness, when should guardrails be put up, how to ensure that floor openings are secured. All of these things are the types of materials that we try to push out through stopconstructionfalls.com and also through OSHA and NIOSH's website. So thanks for raising that. I think that's a really important issue that sometimes we forget to actually say this is what's on here. This is the content that's on these websites for folks to use.
A great point. I think the rest of the questions that are up here are more comments. First, some additional questions about the handouts I'm getting, and so I'll just repeat once again. I will be sending out tomorrow an email with a PDF of the slides and the recording of today's presentation to everyone. It will also be posted online, but you'll receive it via email tomorrow. And then one other comment about the Northeast having a higher density relative to fatal falls. The comment reads that there's more people. It may just be a higher percentage of the number of construction workers, which is what Dean was saying, and that weather could also be a consideration. And another comment notes that perhaps these are things to just note with the data going forward in the tracking, which is a good thought. Let's see, we're getting a couple more in. They're all great suggestions. Does anyone have any further questions for us?
Yeah, usually Dean gets a lot of questions on OSHA enforcement things. Nothing today, though, huh, Dean?
Well, that's not a bad thing. This is an outreach campaign.
All right, well, if people have questions after today's event is over, always feel free to either email any of us, or you can just email me directly and I will get the question to the appropriate person. It does look like we have one more. Are there any stand-down materials or resources describing the new fall protection requirements in general industry? We do work on customer sites and their involvement would be invaluable.
We'll send that one over to Dean.
I missed that.
The question is, are there stand-down materials or resources describing the new fall protection requirements in general industry as opposed to construction? We do work on customer sites and their involvement would be invaluable.
We do not have specific guidance for that. We have, construction has had a volume of material for a long time, and the general industry folks are still developing some of theirs. But there is some good guidance available on the webpage, on our publications page.
Right, and we think that information is adaptable and applicable to general industry as well, and we encourage their involvement in the stand-down.
Well, the general industry rule that just came out really just brings general industry into line with the construction fall prevention standards.
Great. We also have some feedback. I'm just going to mention that a lot of you seem to have participated in the standout before and are giving input that it's really great to have fall protection vendors or manufacturers do demos. Warner Ladders says puts on a great class. Granger has a traveling roadshow. I know 3M also has a traveling roadshow. A lot of these manufacturers and vendors are happy to come to events or organize events with you. It makes it really easy to put on a stand down that's very informative. So as everyone is saying online, that has made stand downs successful in the past, and is a great thing to consider if you have not participated or if you haven't done that before. All right, I'm going to open it one more time if there are any other questions. And if not, like I said, feel free to email me with questions going forward. And we thank you all for participating in the campaign and the stand down and for joining us today. And thanks to all of our presenters.
All right, thank you, Jessica. And thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.